In admit.
A large house made of wood, surrounded by trees.
Welcome to Twin Peaks The Gifted.
And the Damned.
My name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at FitandTrim. That's FITTENTRIM at FitandTrim on Twitter. And with me, as always, the person inside the glass box.
Hey!
It's Mork. Mork, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm really good. If you want to follow me on Twitter or look at me on Twitter without following, it's Extraordinary. That's extraordinary with the W in front of the ultimate R.
With the return of Twin Peaks Season 3 on Showtime, we decided, in addition to breaking down this episode bit by bit like we normally would, we decided to invite a complete Twin Peaks newbie. Catfish, several months ago you told me you knew less than 10 things about Twin Peaks, so we decided to make you our guinea pig. We decided to make you watch The Glass Box and see if somebody could come in brand spanking new, not having seen the first two seasons, and hop in to Twin Peaks. We are going to be covering tonight the first two parts. Part 1, My Log Has a Message for You, and Part 2, The Stars Turn and a Time Presents Itself. Before we dive into the episode as a whole and break down bit by bit, let's go round the horn. Let's hear your ranking out of 10. What are you going to give these first two parts of our 18-part extravaganza, Twin Peaks Season 3? I'm going to start with you, Mork. Mork, what's your ranking out of 10?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
No joking around. 10 wavy lines on the floor of the Black Lodge. 10 beautiful red curtains. 10 weird pieces of flesh on top of lightning trees. 10 out of 10. Kaboom.
Excellent. Without giving us too much, you want to give me one more line. Why? Why 10 out of 10?
Well, it fulfilled what I was looking for. What we talked about a couple weeks ago was what did I really want out of the first episode, and in this case, the first two episodes. What I really wanted, what was really important to me, was that I wanted to watch episodes 3 and 4, and I absolutely do. So I'm thrilled, and I'm excited, and I'm really looking forward to 3 and 4, and most likely 5 through 18. But this was really great for me. Not perfect. I got some quibbles. We'll get to them.
Well, you gave it a 10 out of 10, but it's not perfect?
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah.
Great inflation.
Right. Let's go to our brand newbie, Catfish. You have, just to confirm, how many episodes of Twin Peaks, how much have you seen at all of this series?
2 episodes tonight.
And so, just so our listeners know, give us the extent of your Twin Peak knowledge before even trying to watch these 2 parts tonight.
Well, I watched Eraserhead in college. I loved it.
Cool.
Loved Eraserhead in college.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing movie because what it does, I feel like you see lots of movies and they try to give you an idea of what it's like to be a parent and you see people struggling, but you don't get like a visceral reaction.
Sure.
So to me, I felt like Eraserhead was like giving you a visceral reaction of what it's like to be a new parent where you have this alien thing in your lives that takes it over. Now, I was stoned when I saw the movie. However, I still have a feeling that it was very strong, and I liked it. I also saw Dune.
Great.
I liked Dune.
Okay.
It wasn't the Dune. I wished it had been much longer.
All right.
And that's
And so you haven't seen, though, any of Twin Peaks? You've seen not even something online, maybe a parody? What have you seen?
none of Twin Peaks. I feel like I didn't get into it, and then what happened was there seemed to be the people who watched it seemed to have this sort of superior attitude. I know what you don't. I'm the hip crowd. Now, normally that's the way I like to feel. However, I had a visceral reaction.
Shoes on the other foot.
The sort of like, we're in the know and you're not. And so I never got into Twin Peaks.
Okay. You got thrown, let's be honest, you got thrown in the deep end tonight. Do you have a ranking out of 10? Let's hear it.
Well, how many episodes did we see tonight?
We saw 2 of 18.
Great. So I give it 2 out of 10.
Whoa.
Quadruple Bs.
Quadruple Bs?
Quadruple
Yeah.
Bs?
Bewildering, barren boxes of bullshit.
Whoa. So,
Now, I feel that's maybe a little cruel. As I was watching it, I thought, you know what? This is really, I think, meant to be like an 18-hour movie. So while there was a lot, and I'm sure you'll be able to break it down, it almost feels like so many things were not paid off. Honestly, I don't even know where part 1 ended and part 2 began, and it almost felt like part 2 sort of did have an ending because it was this sort of the musical thing. But I almost feel like it really needs to be judged as kind of an 18-hour movie. However, for tonight's 2 episodes, I gave it 2.
Interesting. Bubba.
whoa. All right. Now it's my turn. Are you ready, Mork?
I don't think I am ready, but let's go for it.
Well, you went 10 out of 10. That's on the high end. Catfish, you went 2 out of 10. That's what I'm going to assume is on the low end.
I thought it was generous. 2.
I guess I'm going to be somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And because of little moments that I loved,
Sure.
I'm going to give this 7, what I like to call double L's out of 10.
Double L's?
Well, listeners to Twin Peaks The Gifted
And the Damned
podcast know that one of our earliest podcasts, we talked about Languid Lynch.
Yes.
And I think if this thing could have had a pulse at certain points where I felt it didn't have a pulse,
Like in
and if
Buckhorn,
it could have,
South Dakota?
if it could have just gotten on with it a couple of times,
Yeah.
I would have been much more positive towards it. There were moments that had me geeking out that, they keep saying this show isn't fan service. I want to say that the fan service was the stuff I loved the most in this episode, meaning the familiar characters we know, the familiar settings, and even some of the new stuff I liked.
Yeah.
But I'm going 7 out of 10. It's got room to grow. But like you, Mork, I am ready. I am ready to see those next 2 parts, which are apparently online and available for people to check out right now.
I'm actually watching them on my phone right now, so I'm going to be a little bit more distracted than usual tonight.
Oh, no. Okay. For everybody, if you're brand new to our podcast, I imagine we might have a lot of new listeners tonight with the premiere on Showtime. Just to give you an idea.
All of whom I can confirm have seen Twin Peaks.
Now, we're going to guess.
If there are newbies like me tonight, they're done.
If you're a new listener to Twin Peaks The Gifted and The Damned, you certainly
And the Damned.
Me getting cut off and us getting derailed is part of the actual podcast. But we're part of the Double P Podcast Network here. We cover such shows as Game of Thrones with our podcast, The Joffrey Podcast. We cover The Strain, which is entitled Got Your Milk Podcast. We also cover the Star series Ash versus Evil Dead versus Bubba versus Catfish.
And the Damned.
And we talk about a lot of shows. We've done American Gods recently. This coming week, we're going to cover the 2nd season of the now Netflix BBC show entitled The Last Kingdom. So go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Double P Podcast. That's the word double, the single letter, the letter P, the word podcast, plural. Facebook.com/Double P Podcast to find out all the crazy shows we do here on the network. I want to give a special shout out to the I'm Worried About Coop podcast, who has given us some shout outs online. On today's podcast, we're going to go through this episode. We're going to give you our thoughts, our analysis, what it makes us think of, what it gets us excited for, and when. I guess I'm going to be the one to say, get on with it. But before we get to any of that, we've got to get to our new iTunes reviews and do our giveaways. For new listeners, if you give us a written iTunes review, that's you go to iTunes and actually write a review. You can't just leave stars, but write one.
No emojis.
And then go to our Facebook page and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Double P Podcast. You'll be eligible to win a prize. Because Twin Peaks is back tonight, we're actually giving away 3 prizes. Can you believe it? And we have a bunch of new iTunes reviews that we got to burn through really quick. One of my favorite double L's.
Double L's?
Loyal listeners.
I thought that was Languid Lynch.
That's true. Is Jolly Roger Rescue. She gave us a 5-star review. It says, exceptional podcast. Wonderful Twin Peaks podcast. Bub and Mork are extremely knowledgeable and laugh out loud funny. Love the Black Lodge and White Lodge minutes instead of a recap format. And as a more recent viewer of Twin Peaks, I also enjoyed hearing anecdotes about things going on back when the show was on the air back in 1990. Ooh, thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Can't wait for season 3. Thank you so much. We got a couple more to burn through. Let's hear it, Mork.
Okay, here we go. This is from Carl Withers, man. Fires Walking with Them, 5 stars. Oh, man, that's so cool. I'm so tired of podcasts with people who don't know anything. It's so refreshing to see 2 hosts that are as into Twin Peaks as I am. I am no OG like them, so they even school me sometimes when they throw down some knowledge. This has quickly become one of the best Twin Peaks podcasts, and if they told me to buy a Casper mattress or subscribe to Blue Apron, I would actually do it. Excellent.
Thank you so much. And we've got one more that Catfish, I want you to read if that's okay.
It's the Desert Buttons. It says, so excited, also 5 stars. Desert Buttons says, I'm a huge Joffrey of Podcast Double L.
Double L?
Loyal listener. As well as a big Bubba Mork and Catfish fan.
Woo.
Looking forward to a TP Newbies takes. Probably not anymore. The Joffrey podcast is very funny Game of Thrones podcast, and the wit continues for their coverage of the long-awaited return of my first TV show love. To the uninitiated listeners, the hosts are quick with jokes, and they play this corny alliteration game that never gets old for some reason. Thanks for the hours of crack-ups, and looking forward to more.
Oh, how cool is that?
I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. We also
They now hate me, though.
we also got one in from Cochler16. That's Cochler16. That's just yuck, 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 yuck. The one from the UK iTunes store.
What?
You bet I do, Reverend. 5 stars, but this is from Dougie Milford. That name sounds kind of familiar. I can't quite place it. Bubba and Mork have taken a tried and tested recipe for a successful Twin Peaks podcast. One co-host who is knowledgeable, likable, and charismatic, and Bubba. Oh, no. And actually, it says, and one irritating goon, and perfected it. 5 stars. Hey, thanks. Awesome. Should we go down to see what the Bookhouse boys have to say from the Land of Oz?
Excellent. From the wonderful country of Australia, we got our final iTunes review. It's Steve Arts89, who entitles his review Bookhouse Boys Club 5 stars. Fun commentary, if sometimes rambling. I found these podcasts on YouTube when I was looking for reviews of The Secret History of Twin Peaks because I didn't have time to read it and wanted to get the basic idea of what was in it. I enjoyed all the podcasts, even if I didn't agree on everything they said. My only real issue was the launch, but it was the Lynch is wrong one. No, the reveal of Laura's killer did not kill the series commercially. Bubba and Mork did a good job of explaining the ratings and business side, but they give it too much importance. When Lynch said it ruined the show, he is speaking artistically, not commercially. When he was pressured to resolve the Laura Palmer mystery, it killed it for him and his idea of the show as a murder mystery. With his beloved MacGuffin gone, he lost interest in the show. The show needed a central mystery, and this eventually came from the search for who killed Laura Palmer, because we know it's not as simple as Leland, but we don't still really know what Bob is. There'll be no telling where Lynch will take things, but we'll find out soon. Look forward to the boys' podcast covering the return. Ooh, thank you so much.
You know, I'm a newbie, but it seems to me like they probably generated about 3 or 4 new mysteries tonight.
Oh,
So I don't think there's any worry about that.
All right, so we're going to actually be giving away our prizes. We've got some of these wonderful Twin Peaks Funko toys. We've got coasters. We've got special Twin Peaks art in the form of postcards. We'll be giving it out, but we're going to make you wait till the end of the podcast when we're also going to give away some more great
That is devilish.
feedback.
Smart move.
All right, so let's just jump in. And where do we begin? Well, okay, Mork, let's get into the parts 1 and part 2. It opens with some scenes from the original series with Laura Palmer telling Agent Cooper in the Black Lodge. She'll tell him, I'll see you again in 25 years. Ooh, this got me so jazzed. And then we got to
By the way, I believe Mork asked us to predict what the very first scene of the 3rd season would be.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that I got closer than either of the two of you.
All right, let's hear it. What did you think?
Well, because I know about 10 things about Twin Peaks, my answer was Cooper will be eating pie and coffee with Laura.
Oh, wow. Well, he was with Laura. Admittedly, this is...
But I asked,
is old
where would
footage.
we first see Cooper? Not what would he be doing and who would he be doing it with?
Uh-oh.
Well, then let's just see if either of you do better than I did.
Okay, let's see right now.
Well, Mork, I'm reading your sheet, and you wrote... I can't even read your handwriting. This is going to be able... This is how Mork's going to say, of course, that's exactly what I wrote.
Exactly.
This scribble is impossible to... Oh, you wrote Red Room. Okay.
Yeah.
I can make out the R's. So point for Mork. You guessed...
I get a point.
Exactly. Now, did you think it would be a flashback like this, or blatantly a scene from the past like this?
I didn't know either way, but I took a stab. And it was great to see them there. And throughout the episode, it was kind of amazing to me that after a few scenes, Cooper doesn't look, Kyle MacLachlan, he doesn't look that much older, he doesn't look as old as I thought he was going to look. After watching, as we've been doing all of these previous episodes and knowing what he looks like today, I thought it would be a lot more jarring. And
Well,
maybe
I think they did a nice contrast because to be kind, the sun-kissed Cooper we see is really beaten down.
You, Mr. C.
Mr. C.
Yeah.
They call him Cooper.
What the end? But they were referring to as Mr. C, which I kind of like because
this isn't Cooper.
Well,
I did give up. The
All
other
right.
question I had was
Yeah.
this kind of strange talking that we got way too much in this episode. So this is not a new thing.
oh no, they've never done this before. You'll never know Catfish until you watch all the episodes.
No, this is in a kind of nether world, and I may get yelled at for even calling it a nether world. This is in a different place, let's call it that, which it is called on the show, a different place called the Black Lodge, a place more like dreams. And so maybe dreams are difficult to interpret. That's why, theoretically, once again, there's no hard, fast rule on this. Maybe that's why the people speak this way.
Now, what about my favorite character, the Arm?
Well, we're going to get to the arm in a bit.
Okay, but the Arm is not new. Okay, I don't want to get into it.
Such great. Can I guess say where I thought we would first see Cooper? If you look at my sheet of paper, I guessed that he'd be in a hotel room. This was just a straight up guess. I thought, well, Cooper, he's in the waiting room. Obviously, I thought it would be the bad Cooper would be in a hotel room. David Lynch did a HBO series called Hotel Room, so that's what I thought it would be. We leave this flashback, and we get a very jarring kind of, we're jarringly taken away from the flashback into the Red Room kind of having a spaz.
Yeah.
In seasons 1 and season 2, the Red Room never had these spaz outs, these kind of...
I don't think the technology was available then. For some of the things, it was Lynch was catching up on all the advances that there's been in After Effects. But no, it was great. I mean, I know I got off the point pretty quickly, but that opening it's very brief. I like the new waterfall angle. I mean, for me, I'm not too concerned about the opening. It was everything else that I was really worried about.
I really liked it. I liked this shot where we have the curtains kind of waving back and forth. I love the shot where we had of the floor kind of zooming in and out. To me, it took us to the place of, hey, time has passed. The water's going over the fall. Curtains are billowing. The Red Room, the Black Lodge, spinning floor is showing us that time has passed. And this really got me jazzed. I was so excited.
Okay,
I thought, this is it. This is it. I said, I'm ready. Let's go.
Are any of your 7 points directly related to the opening?
Well, if you're talking about things I liked, yes. This opening got me very excited. Now, that said, the next couple of minutes,
Excited as Jennifer Jason Leigh?
The next 15 minutes got me slightly upset. So we open, then it's suddenly, we're black and white. We're seeing the giant speaking to Cooper, and he's giving him certain clues. It's like we're getting into numerology.
Yeah, we
got to remember 4:30 and Richard and Linda.
Richard and Linda. One thing that I just want to throw out there, and it was something that it occurred to me while listening to Catfish talk about watching the episode. And granted, this we threw him in here, and God bless him for sticking with us. So thank you, Catfish. About halfway in, I told myself some advice that I would tell people who had watched some of the original series but never really got into it, because usually I've found that if they didn't really get into the original, seasons 1 and 2, it's because they hadn't watched the complete pilot. And about halfway in, I mean, there's a lot of stuff where I was kind of all over the place. And at a certain point,
in this episode, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, and we're going to get to him. But at a certain point, it's just like, just watch it. And for me, enough of it came together where, like, I'm in. So
where you had to let it wash over you is what you're saying. Just kind of go with the flow. Turn off the light, like the floor, like at the end of the episode in the Black Lodge, the floor parted beneath me. I was in a giant fizzy soda, like Cooper was, and I was okay with it. I was totally fine. Did 4:30 or Richard and Linda make you think of anything?
No. I mean, it made me think about a lot of stuff, but I didn't arrive on anything at all. You've been writing in Wrapped in Plastic, and you're a member of Coop and all of this stuff. So did that mean anything to you?
No, I started racking my brain. Who's Richard? Who's Linda? Right. The next thing we see is we're suddenly in a trailer out in the woods. It feels like definitely a dirty, crazy place.
This is definitely what I would call. At this point, this is just fan service because.
Yeah, Dr. Jacoby comes out. He's living out in the middle of nowhere, and he's getting shovels delivered, apparently. Sure. He's getting 2 giant boxes of shovels delivered, and we're just thrown into this. We're not explained anything. If you're new, like Catfish is, you don't know who this overall guy is. I thought this scene just kind of took so long, and so this is where I'm saying that it was great fun scene seeing Dr. Jacoby.
It was nice.
But especially here at the beginning of these episodes, I am like, give me something to hook on to. Give me something to sink my teeth into. Give me a story.
Exactly. And at the very last scene, it for me, the soap opera of it all kind of clicked back in.
Oh, yeah.
And
the very last scene of part 2, you're saying.
Exactly. The very last scene where we're in the Roadhouse. At this point, we don't really know what to expect. We don't know what kind of show it's going to be. We've had 25 years of wondering what the hell are they going to do. And this was maybe not what we were staying up late at night to watch.
Yeah,
but
this isn't a soap opera. We had a great earlier podcast entitled Twin Peaks is a Soap Opera. This was slow. It was kind of mood setting. And then, as you're wondering, okay, there's no story here. It's just we're seeing a guy get shovel delivers.
Right.
We're cut to New York City. Both of you guys asked if this building we're suddenly seeing in New York City is a CGI creation. This seemingly in the middle of all these skyscrapers. There's like a brick building that's right there. And we're taken inside it. We're taken inside to theoretically a monitoring station where this infamous glass box that we keep referring to is being set up. It's being monitored by multiple cameras. There's a kid in there watching the glass box.
This felt like fan service to newbies.
Okay.
Because, like him, I felt like I was watching something I didn't understand.
all right. Fair enough.
And
you're also locked in the room like him.
Exactly. So I felt like him, but I was jealous. By the end of the episode, I was more jealous of Daria.
So this young student, I'm going to say student, he said he was getting it to be paid for school. He's watching these box. He's changing out SD cards that are recording if anything were to happen in the box.
Right.
For everybody who's downloaded and listened to our multiple, and I mean 5 podcasts about Mark Frost's new book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, this setup of, hey, let's stare at this box where we can't see anything, but, ooh, something could be in there.
Right.
That reminded me of a scene of Dougie Milford down in Florida with Jackie Gleason and President Nixon. If you haven't read the book, this makes no sense, but they went to a place where they were looking at something which seemingly didn't exist, and it suddenly popped up, and it reminded me of this.
So, speaking of that, when I saw Cut to New York City, I don't know about you, but one of the things that we talked about, what was so great about the book, was ultimately everything that's going on, starting way back when with Lewis and Clark and throughout the centuries that took us to the death of Laura Palmer, was everything, well, basically everything, except for when we're hanging out with Nixon and Jackie Gleason in Palm Beach. But so much of it is about the place, Twin Peaks, and that this is a special place located somewhere in eastern and or western Washington state, and something here is happening. So when we cut to New York City, and also when we cut to Buckhorn, South Dakota, when we cut to Las Vegas, for me, that made me pretty nervous. Okay. But ultimately, I think they did do a pretty good job because we see what's connecting them all together, sort of. I mean, we don't really understand it, but it was. We can get back to that later, but it was. I was really nervous when I saw this whole opening thing. You know, New York City, the big buildings. I was not looking forward to seeing that at all.
All right. Well, let's just cover the New York City portion of it as we can. We see this kid. He's apparently got a girlfriend named Tracy, which he says her name multiple times. Tracy, the lovely Madeline Zima, who Showtime viewers know from Californication. She's been in a million things. So she's here to deliver coffee. She wants to hang out with her man, but her man on his shift, he can't get away. He's got to stay here and watch this box.
Right, and he's being watched outside the door by a private security guard who's not letting him out or her in.
That's exactly right. We don't find out what happens to this security guard, but we know bad things are happening for the kid and Tracy. So this story continues on. We kind of see them. She is looking at the code, like she wants to find out what the code is, and so you think, ooh, maybe she's a spy who wants to get in there and find out what's happening with her boyfriend, or maybe she's faking to be a girlfriend because she wants to get in and find out, ooh, what's happening with
right. So when you saw this, and you know, we haven't seen much. We see Dr. Jacoby and his shovels,
right,
and then we cut to this. Were you thinking? I was thinking, is this going to be a major character in the show? Is this a new Coop? Is this a new Bobby or James or someone like that? I mean, were you thinking about that at all, or were you just you were paying more attention to the box?
Well,
so to speak.
right. Well, David Lynch wants us all to pay attention to the donut, not the hole.
Exactly.
Or maybe the hole, not the donut. I've forgotten how he said it.
Or that one, too.
But I was thinking, obviously, something's going to show up in this.
Sure.
Obviously, something's going to show up in this box. And I thought, well, naturally, it'd be scary. To be honest, my first thought was it's going to tie to Cooper somehow, because Cooper is in this place that's kind of this netherworld, the Black Lodge. Maybe this box has some force, some tie to it, which later in the episode we find out it might.
Yeah.
28 minutes into part one, we've seen some Twin Peaks, but now we're back with this kid, and he notices something odd is going on. His girlfriend, Tracy's there. Their security guard has disappeared. He goes into the restroom. Maybe the security guard's in there. He's not there. Tracy wants to go inside and see it. Now,
I thought that I didn't think that they were boyfriend-girlfriend yet, and she seemed very suspicious.
Okay.
I suspected her of getting rid of the guard and her having a nefarious purpose for getting in here, not making out but getting something. I mean, she was looking over his shoulder for the code because they didn't really seem like boyfriend girlfriend but acquaintances. They can't be boyfriend and girlfriend. The guy doesn't say, can we make out?
Right.
So they're sort of on the cusp of something, but I felt like she was using him and trying to get in there, which didn't apparently seem to be the case. It's just part of, I guess, my whole sense of the show, where things are sort of shot in a way and they're asked the actors to perform in a way that seems like there's more going on than there is.
Would you call the acting stilted? What would you think of?
Absolutely, but clearly intentionally stilted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think for the most part intentionally stilted. There are some of the characters, I think, that being stilted came more naturally to them than to other performers. Matthew Lillard, I didn't really think he was stilted.
Oh, good call.
I think that, but a lot of the actors are stilted, and they sort of linger on scenes, so they seem a little just awkward. That seemed intentional to me, for sure.
One quick question, and as we're sort of looking back on this kid, does he even have a name? We hear Tracy 15 times, but does this kid even have a name? Because I don't actually remember him being addressed in a Christian way.
He's addressed in a
sort of an agnostic sense, where he just, hey, lover, boy, it's look at them go, for God's sakes, man, oh man, I need a new college job.
Or I was going to say, if you ever take your dates someplace and you're thinking, oh, this will get them in the mood. Now we know the place to take them to get them in the mood. The date may not end well, but it's going to start okay.
Look,
because they get frisky. They get randy.
They get in there. And this is also a move that, to speak to Catfish's theory, I don't know. I'm not as experienced with the fair sex as probably most of our double L's. But I'm going to stand up and disrobe, that move is usually done by a spy or someone who's trying to steal my wallet.
So did you still think that she was a spy when she did this, or what?
Well, she was running out of places to hide things.
Upset. So I thought she was going to stand up and be like, no, I don't do this anymore. So for her to stand up in a way that looked like she was irritated and then take her clothes off, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, she was still looking for the pin code is what she was doing.
So they are getting frisky on the couch. They are doing it, and of course, this has had to be when whatever's in the box was going to show up.
Yeah, absolutely, so to speak.
The question is there any correlation?
Oh, yeah, that's something...
What I mean? That high emotion...
Sure.
That energy sort of drew something in.
Oh, see? Look, Catfish is getting into this.
You didn't watch the series, and yet you're figuring it out. Does love open the lodge?
Are they opening a door Are they opening a door on the East Coast? Is there an East Coast exit to the Black Lodge? We don't know.
I want to say the score, if you're familiar with the old show, which was a soap opera, which moved at what I would call a normal pace, not this languid Lynch we got, but the score wasn't kind of overriding as it was in season 1 and season 2. But very briefly, we heard some of the what I would call classic Twin Peak noises. Classic noises that says, hey, something's going on. When they're showing the back of all that electronic equipment,
right.
Electricity,
yeah,
the glass box turns black. Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is no good.
And so then we see what can only be described as the ring.
Yeah, the negative of a naked man with a bird's face. So is this potentially what the owl looks like? Is this the owl that we're looking at?
It's not what it seems.
That we're talking about in Secret History of Twin Peaks. I don't know what it is. It kind of, who knows? It's scary, though, and I would never want to see it.
It is scary. Guys, let's just get to it. Were you afraid? Forget trying to understand the scene. Just as a mood, as a setting. Were you creeped out? Were you afraid? What did you think when you saw this?
I was definitely more afraid when the damn thing was inside the box. When it cracked through, and it's kind of like, oh, okay. But when it was inside the box, I don't know. Maybe this is Bob. Maybe this is going to take control of one of them or something like that. She's got ulterior motives. I had no idea what to expect. But when they busted through the glass, it was okay. But then the question is, where did it go? And are we going to follow that?
It's loose in New York City.
Yeah. Is this basically, are we watching Ghostbusters 2?
We wrap around again.
Well,
when we wrap around...
Not all the way around. I mean,
we wrap around to before this scene happens.
But then we go away.
It's him inside.
So, okay,
But what I'm saying
so
is,
he's being
is
chased?
that him?
No.
Maybe it's him.
No, it's not him.
I say it's him.
No, because first off, he fell on top of it. This thing got sucked in slowly. And no, it was a different. It closed the loop, which I loved, and it made. I'm not going to say more sense of anything else, but
I'm glad you're not going to say that.
I'm not going to say that, but I definitely appreciate it.
Let's look at this. Admittedly, we're going to have to come back to it a bit later to see how it ties off. The good Dale is in the lodge. He's just seen his doppelganger, the
driving outside of South Dakota. So the lodge it's sort of like when you look at in the back of the airline book where all the routes that they go to. The lodge has that too. They go to Buckhorn, South Dakota. They go to Manhattan. They go everywhere, Catfish. It's beautiful.
But what we're going to call the arm, this hideous electric tree with a beehive on the...
This is the doppelganger arm.
That's true. It sees Cooper seeing himself. It sees good Cooper in the Red Room, in the Black Lodge, seeing himself. And so it tosses Cooper down into something it likes to call...
non-existent?
Right, non-existent. And he gets, I thought, oh my God, is this the end of Cooper at all? Non-existent? And he falls into this... It's like across the galaxy through stars. The next thing you know, he's on top of the glass box. He falls through the glass box, and he's in it.
Yeah, he's in it. I thought for a second as he was flipping around that we saw Matthew McConaughey from Interstellar. I couldn't quite make it out next time I watched it.
I guess, so what I'm trying to get at
Catfish
here,
is piecing it together. This
All
is
right,
good.
Let's do it.
Is that what you are saying, Mort?
Yes.
Is that this guy has been here forever and hasn't seen anything. And while he's out of the room... Cooper gets sucked in, and then is gone, and then he comes back in the room, and then another thing shows up, something that never happens. We get two distinct visitors in a 5-minute period.
Okay, but something did happen in the Red Room before, where one-armed man and the good doppelganger, I'm sorry, not the good doppelganger, the good tree of arm, we'll call it, they start talking about something's happening, someone's here, and evil doppelganger arm tree show up. So that, I think, is connected to what actually killed these people. That's going to be my
saying that
operating theory.
Cooper in. Cooper got in while they were out checking
in the
out
bathroom.
The guard.
Yeah. That's what typically what Cooper does.
Okay, now
Cooper presages something evil coming after him.
If someone was in the bathroom, yes.
Now let's
just watch the original series, Catfish.
Let's go crazy. It's certainly easier to understand than what we've been given. So I want to get a prediction from you guys, though. I don't know how in the world you could predict, but let's predict. Will we see this couple again? Since now we've seen them at different points in time, will we ever go back to before this point?
No, we won't see him again. This kid got his job after some other kid had the job and saw something and then disappeared, and then he got the job. No, I think these guys are just their glass box fodder is what they are.
Will we ever find out who's doing this experiment? What is this experiment? What's it for?
I'm assuming it's connected to our boys in Vegas and possibly Philip Jeffries and all of that stuff, which I got to say was super exciting because first when they talk about Jeffries originally, they don't. It takes a minute before Mr. C, and let's call Mr. C because number one, it'll separate from Good Cooper, and also we all like Happy Days. And
hey, Mr. C,
Mr. Cunningham, come on, why not? So before they refer to him as
R.I.P.
Jeffrey.
Moran.
Thank you, Catfish. I appreciate that. They refer to Jeffries for a little while before it's identified as Philip Jeffries, which, as Bubba can tell you better than anybody, was played by the late great
David Bowie.
in Fire Walk with Me, which Catfish also didn't see.
All right.
But he disappeared. Before Coop ever went west to Washington State to discover what happened to Laura.
All right. So let's get back to the show where we've seen our good friend Dr. Jacoby. He's getting shovels. Then we have just like a check-in. What's going on with Ben Horn? He's still seemingly running the Great Northern. There's a problem with people having skunks in their room. Ouch, that's very bad.
No, it wasn't in the room.
It was 100 feet away.
It was on the other side, but because she brings all her rich friends up, he has to comp her a little bit, even if she only even heard about the skunk.
What's different about the layout of Ben's office? It's. I don't think he had the desk up against the big mural.
Well, they've done some redecorating, is the way you would have to assume it. This is definitely not the set that they built in Van Nuys,
right?
Or even trying to recreate the set they built in Van Nuys.
That's fair.
This is a new look. They've redecorated. What would have been the secret passageway is now a glass door, which
French doors,
which Jerry comes
That's
in.
How Jerry works, yeah.
And Jerry is selling medicinal marijuana,
and apparently quite well. Well,
listen, he has not only edibles, but I mean, he's got food and also jam. I mean,
yeah, it's a full service operation.
Corner the market.
It's a full service operation. I got to say, Jerry looks great. Ben, it took me a beat. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be... He looks... I mean, obviously it's the same guy, Richard Beymer, great actor, but he doesn't look quite as vain as he used to strike me during the series. Like in the series, he was so primped and, kind of fluffed, and here he's just in a business suit.
To be honest, I loved it. Jerry's gone off the deep end. He's had too much brie with butter.
Maybe.
And Washington State legal marijuana. I loved seeing Ben. I think he looks great. It's good to see him there at his desk. Him demanding...
Respecting women.
Right, him demanding...
Finally.
Him demanding that Jerry not assume he slept with his new assistant.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys liked this scene?
I enjoyed seeing these two guys together. They're the brothers whose family has owned the Great Northern Hotel, and they had gotten it into some malfeasance over the years. It's nice to see that now the malfeasance has been legalized.
I would say that I like seeing these characters. You're talking about the scene. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned with Jacoby, there's kind of no story here. The Twin Peaks Season 1 and Season 2, even in the pilot of the very first episode of Season 1, you're thrown into story. This is happening. This is happening.
There was a murder. Yeah, there's a murder mystery.
Well, even before that, though, there's a business deal. Like, that's when we first seen Ben Horn. So there's, like, stuff you can grasp onto.
No, but it's all in the context of who killed Laura.
Sure, fair enough. But what I'm saying is that with Dr. Jacoby, with Ben, I believe the next scene is with Lucy, it's like there's no story there. It's just like, here's a slice of life. Here they still exist.
Right.
Here's some people, like, for example, Ben, like, for example, Lucy at the sheriff's station. Here's what they're doing now.
I'm just asking because this is the only scene that made sense and was enjoyable to me in the 2-hour period.
Oh, wow.
So,
man, oh, man.
That's why I was wondering, because it was the most sort of normal, recognizable human activity that required no backstory for anyone else, and I enjoyed it and understood it. Well, so you know what? I think
that counts.
I think I probably should just end on that.
Okay.
Get out.
Catfish, if you're going to end on that, because you were thrown into the deep end, this is very tough for anybody, probably even returning fans, to get into, because once again, there's not really a plot, there's not really a story that we can understand so far amongst many of these storylines. Was there one scene overall that besides this scene that intrigued you, like, ooh, this is interesting, like Matthew Lillard? Did anything intrigue you at all, or was it just so foreign you couldn't comprehend any of it?
I did like the Matthew Lillard storyline until I realized that it had a mundane answer to it. I thought it was going to have a much more interesting answer to how that happened, whereas it just seemed like it's because the wife did it. I thought there was going to be a more mystical answer.
Oh, I think there is. Yeah, I think there is a more mystical thing.
It seemed clear to me that the wife was like, "You cheated on me, and I got you, and you're screwed." That she kind of admitted that she did it, that she framed him.
Okay. That's an interesting call. I didn't see the wife or even her lover, the lawyer, being people who would chop off somebody's head and then put a different body in there.
Well, but when Mr. C shows up, he compliments her on having taken, knowing how to play human nature, as if she's also coming from the same place as Mr. C.
Okay.
Before
right.
before he shot her, and also he there was something a little mystical about it. Number one, there's how do you get those two completely head, different body in the bed, and his fingerprints. That and I don't know if I'm guessing we're never going to get the clear answer on that. But yes, I don't think it was
a cool storyline in that it was strange, it was bizarre, but I could understand it. A lot of it felt to me as someone who doesn't know, and I want to respect people who love this series because it's obviously I'm happy for anybody who loves something and then it comes back and obviously people are invested in it. It to me a lot of it felt like I was watching the last 10 minutes of 2001 over and over and over again, that there was a lot of stuff that was just done just for the sake of being really strange. But
okay.
I didn't recognize a lot of the characters. There were a lot of times when you guys were laughing, you guys were like, there was pangs of like recognition and I see this and I'm excited
sure,
to
of course.
forward that I didn't know at all.
Can I just say before what you were saying, those are probably the nicest things he's ever said. Bubba, those are the nicest things Catfish has ever said about us.
Thank you so much. Well, Catfish, it seems like you need to take off. So why don't you tell the Double L's loyal listeners how they can find you on Twitter and how they can thank you. And to be honest, I have to thank you. Once again, we threw you to the deep end. Who knew it would be this deep? Who knew it would be the deep end was non-existent? But how can people reach you on Twitter?
They can hit me up at CJGman67 and the Damned.
Thank you so much, Catfish. Thank you for dropping by.
Catfish, you're a pro. So we jump to, after spending a little bit of time with the Horns, we jump to the sheriff's station.
And it's Lucy, and it's so good to see Lucy.
Lucy's looking great. Lucy has a new last name, as we can see from her nameplate.
It's Brennan. She's married Deputy Andy. Happy days are here again.
Well, we assume she married. She could have married and divorced and just kept the last name. Just like how we tell people that they can't unsubscribe in anger until they subscribe. So it could be a similar situation with Lucy.
She's there at the sheriff's station at her desk, at the place she's been apparently the last 25 years.
So this scene actually made me think about some stuff that as yet it ties in directly to the book. And do you want to talk about the scene first, and then we'll opine?
Sure. I just want to say that they are at Lucy's station. She's got a picture behind her there which looks like it's tough because it's in the background, but it looks like it's definitely Deputy Andy.
Yeah.
And a little kid.
I do think that's Lucy with a shorter haircut, and looks like we're standing in front of a Christmas tree. But yeah, it looks like them. And I also think I see little Nicky waiting to murder them.
Excellent. So a guy comes in, and once again, this isn't really a story that we can tell. Somebody wants to see Sheriff Truman. She says, which one?
Aha!
This ties into the secret history of Twin Peaks,
yes,
where we know Sheriff Harry S. Truman had a brother, Frank Truman, who was sheriff before Harry.
Right.
Just going off of the reports that Michael Ontkean, the actor who played Harry S. Truman, he's not on the list of actors appearing in Season 3.
Right.
It makes you think of, well, this character who was in the book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, Frank Truman, is now actually the sheriff.
He's actually the sheriff, but if they're talking about two Truman brothers and which Sheriff Truman, and so one of them is there. And so Catfish was talking about some of the presentational style of some of the acting, if you will. And Kimmy Robinson was who we're so excited to see back again, was definitely doing a little bit of that. She was really talking about which Truman, like 4 or 5 times she was saying that. And it's the fact that she's the receptionist, she is the gatekeeper. So, does Lucy and the sheriff's station have a greater importance in everything that we're doing? Okay, no, shoot it down.
No. Now, what did you... This is just a little scene, but to me, once again, it doesn't feel like there's a true story beat hitting. It doesn't feel like it's much of anything. And if it was going for humor in this particular case, I just didn't laugh.
Yeah, I didn't laugh. And that's why it felt to me like it does have some sort of greater import in terms of the timeline, in terms of the dimension that we're in, all of that. So that's the only thing I can really think of that gave it a reason to be here. Because we've seen Lucy fail at helping people because they can't give her the information that she needs to to help them. But this particular information, in light of what was in the book, in light of what, who we have and haven't seen, it just felt like it was of particular importance. We've seen her we've seen her be Lucy without touching on things that are also included in Secret History of Twin Peaks. Mainly because Secret History hasn't been written the last time we saw Lucy, but still.
The one thing I would say is, even though Michael Ontkean isn't in the cast list, the fact that she implies that both Sheriff Trumans are alive and well, that we should be good.
Well, we should be, but we'll find out. I mean, maybe they're still negotiating with Michael Ontkean. Do you think that could be it?
So maybe he was the one that was sick and one was fishing. So,
right. And sometimes if you go fishing, you get sick. Maybe there's just one Sheriff Truman after all. We don't really know. Okay, so
then we're introduced, and I feel like we should follow him for a while.
Yeah.
To Doppelganger Mr. C. Driving a Mercedes.
Yeah. Driving a Mercedes. He's going through the woods. He's probably speeding a little bit. He's got some kind of crazy song on, and that's been, run through all sorts of different distortions. And he gets out, and I was pumped. I love Mr. C.
Oh, you do?
I
That's
really
great.
do. I really love Mr. C, number one. And number two, it really, because Good Cooper, is such a one-note, earnest character, it was really fun, and he wasn't really behaving like a real person so much in these episodes, Agent Cooper. But it was fun to see Kyle MacLachlan, hey, this guy really is a good actor. It was nice to see that. I didn't love the shirt. Didn't love the little ponytail thing in the background. It was a little Rick on Stark for me, but maybe Ed Art, I don't know.
I have to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about Mr. C. I liked that he took care of this bodyguard here at Otis and Bunella's place.
Yeah.
This guy outside has a shotgun, it seems like to me, but that doesn't stop Mr. C at all. The guy with the shotgun comes back inside when Mr. C's talking to Otis, and he wants to threaten Mr. C. Mr. C is just super competent. He can take you down and take out you suckers. I loved it.
Yeah, I like that, and it's the idea of, somebody who had been, he's a doppelganger. So Cooper, Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Dale Cooper, who was an expert, he was at the top of his game, and so we're seeing, the opposite of that. We're seeing the negative version of that, and so
he still has all the skills. Like Cooper could disarm people, you would imagine. This Mr. C can disarm people,
and he's got an evil tape recorder. Not only is Cooper evil, his tape recorder is evil.
His Diane is evil. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I cannot wait to meet her. The scene in and of itself, it was a little goofy. I mean, it can only be described as the only open brothel in town, because otherwise you would never go there.
You thought this cabin here was a brothel? I didn't know what it was. To me, it just looks like Otis and Buella's hell house.
Oh, yeah. Well, she makes reference to, only truckers come by or something. I can't imagine why you would pull off the road to go into this. I mean, I don't even know how to describe this place. It's amazing.
Well, Mr. C is there to get Ray and Daria.
Yeah.
Daria, right? I'm going to mispronounce it. Daria, right?
Yes.
Ray and Daria. He needs them for his mission. And just jumping ahead, it feels like the most important part of his mission is he's got to go back in the lodge. Like, his time is up. Apparently, he has a 25-year, vacation.
Yeah.
And he has to go back, but he doesn't want to go back. And theoretically, the information that Ray's going to get is going to help him. This is slow going, as I keep mentioning Double L, Langwood Lynch.
Yeah.
And so, but it is intriguing. Let's get to that. It is
intriguing, and I really like the fact that they're giving both of our Coopers, a bit of a mission. And, what we've been talking about and what we've heard about throughout this, this almost never-ending build-up was, okay, the show is about Agent Cooper coming home. And so, okay, that's great. But we all knew about the doppelganger, and he's trying to do the exact same thing. Maybe, he's trying to do it in a better way than what he might otherwise. He's trying to cheat it a little bit, but it gives them both something to do. And the possibility, I don't think it's likely, but there's the possibility that, well, maybe they'll team up and have to take down someone else. I don't know. But he sort of checks all the boxes for me of what makes a really good TV character, other than the shirt. And I'm I'm very happy to spend some time with him for the next 18 hours or so, number one. Number two, Mr. C needs to be on Showtime. Dale Cooper can be on ABC anytime he wants. You want to throw him up on Saturday night with China Beach, Friday night with Urkel, that's all good. But Mr. C, he definitely needs to be on premium paid cable. So I'm glad that we're here on Showtime, even though it's costing me a few bucks.
The next time we see Mr. C, he's with Ray, Daria, and I don't think this is Otis, and they're in a diner. This is not the Double R diner. This is seedy. Is it North Dakota or South Dakota diner? Where
I don't know. I don't know where they are exactly, but they're definitely. Mr. C, is en route to the principal's house. So we don't know exactly where he is, what city he's in. And I believe we learned that this gentleman
it's Jack.
is Jack
right.
Later on. And and there's a lot going on in these 2 hours. So forgive me, Bubba and our double L's if I miss this. But so we're with Ray and Dharma. The giant, Daria, excuse me. The giant was talking about Linda and Richard.
Right, so you would assume not these two.
So not these two, but later on, Mr. C is talking about meeting up with some other people. So was that Linda and Richard or no? Or did I get that wrong?
I don't think so. I think this is a big mystery. I don't know how all these names are going to fit together, but they're here at this diner. Everybody has a part to play, like you're saying. Now, Ray, we're going to find out. Ray is going to find out some information with a contact of his. I believe it's a secretary, right? Who's going to get this information that Mr. C wants, but he ends up in prison.
Yeah.
And yet Jack, I guess, is the person getting Mr. C kind of getaway cars. Not that he is ever in a hurry to get away. And then we have Daria. Boy, listeners, write in and tell us how you want us to pronounce Daria's name. But Daria had her own mission, which Mr. C didn't know about without his evil recording, and that was she and Ray wanted to kill Mr. C. Somebody's paid them $1 million to kill Mr. C.
Yeah, no, there's another player involved, and originally when we sort of going through the episodes, first we go to New York City, and then a little while later we're in South Dakota, and then a little while later we're in Las Vegas. By the end of it, I felt like, okay, we've gone through it, but these are where most of the people are going to be coming from, and that's fine. Mr. C is he's heading west for sure. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to the prison.
Yeah, which is on the other side of the state.
Which is, okay, so he's getting a little bit of a detour, unfortunately. But first, so he comes back, and this is when we see how evil the doppelganger is, number one. And
right, he's already shot a woman in her face in the Matthew Lillard storyline.
Right, and exactly.
Which was about Bill and Dave the cop.
Dave the cop.
And Ruth Davenport's murder.
Ruth Davenport, the library, and some headless man.
Right.
But also the way that he kills her is identical to how Ruth Davenport's head was in bed. Mm-hmm. Where the bullet came out of her eye. So he is a crack shot. He's very evil, and
if you're Daria and
why would you mess with this dude?
Yeah, but also if you and Ray are planning to kill him,
just kill him. She has a gun.
Why would you tell him where the gun is?
Right. Yeah, she has a gun, and just shoot him. Yeah, I don't know why. She's, Daria has gotten a little cocky. Daria is giving him basically a Bond speech, and he calls her out on it. And he is evil.
Oh man, he's not good.
Man, he is super creepy. And I buy him. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, I do actually buy him as someone who could be this evil. I don't feel like he's putting it on. If it was our good friend who played, our friend who ran Men's Fashion and Horns Department Store.
Oh, you're saying if Ian Buchanan, Dick Tremaine could have played this character.
Oh, God. I should go to hell for not remembering Dick Tremaine's name.
That's true.
But, yeah, Dick Tremaine playing Evil Coop, I don't buy. But, I mean, he's pulling it off for me. Is he doing it for you?
It's just, I'm not going to say Kyle MacLachlan's doing a bad acting job. It's just so bizarre to see it.
Yeah.
It's almost like it doesn't make any sense. Like, this isn't, how could this be?
Would it be better if he was yelling Moadib?
No, would it be better if maybe occasionally he would cut and his image would cut to Frank Silva. And so I could really get that image in my head. So I don't want to say that Kyle MacLachlan's doing a bad job, just that this is so foreign in this world that it's tough for me to get my head around it.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it, and part of what I'm thinking as as we are making our way, these other places outside of Twin Peaks are being represented. We've got, as I mentioned, New York. We've got South Dakota. We've got Las Vegas. There's it's almost like this is what Mr. C. He has spread this evil from Twin Peaks
is a good call.
across the rest of the country in over this period of time. And so the evil that had been contained thanks to the Bookhouse Boys, thanks to Sheriff Truman, thanks to everybody, all the good people in Twin Peaks who had contained it when it jumped onto Mr. C's back. They just couldn't contain it anymore, and it spread all over this entire country. There's a lot of, I don't want to call it backstory, but it does feel, for me, I felt like I was informed about what's been happening over the past 25 years. I don't understand it, but when I learn more about it, I feel like it's going to make more sense. And so I'm still in with both feet. So, and we get to see the owl or something like the owl.
Mr. C holds up for Daria. He holds up a playing card. I thought, oh my God, is he going to show her a playing card that Wyndham Earl put the Miss Twin Peaks pageants on? But instead, it's this black dot with horns. You think this is an owl? You think this is a version of the owl cave symbol? This evocative, definitely evil-looking Ace of Spades card with this, once again, dot with...
Yeah, for me, it's not exactly the owl that we've seen depicted on The Ring or in the cave or anything like that at all. But there's something in the center, and there's two arcs on the side that are as like Twin Peaks. Also, that maybe that center black dot could represent the Black Lodge in Twin Peaks. Between the two little arrows. I don't know exactly.
Well, Mr. C says he wants it.
Yeah.
As long as we're throwing out ideas, what if that black dot represents the monster, if you will, that escaped from the glass box, and that's what he wants? Somehow that monster will allow him not to have to go back to the Black Lodge.
That could be it.
You were talking about Bond speeches, Bond villain speeches. Mr. C gave Daria one when he's like, I was supposed to go back to this place called the Black Lodge. Right. And that was a little awkward moment for me, for him to state to this newbie person, let me tell you what's going on in my world before I kill you.
But then he actually killed her, though, which usually the Bond villain speech does not actually consummate in killing your rival. So he does it, and then he starts acting in a way that I remember I'm watching this and I'm thinking, man, you know what? I wish this guy had been Wyndham Earl. This, for me, is the real Wyndham Earl.
Mr. C.
Mr. C, yeah. Yeah, I mean, not just because he has the same briefcase, but that really does remind me of the briefcase. But it does make... Okay, so here's a question I have for you, Bubba.
Let's hear it.
As well as our amazing double L's. Okay, so he pulls out this wacky briefcase. He opens it up. Inside is some sort of stage prop provided by Microsoft. It allows Mr. C to log into the FBI database, which you could do from any browser, apparently. And if you look carefully, he's not using it's not D Cooper or anything like that. It's another series of letters. I thought I saw MQ or MCQ or something like that. I couldn't make it out, but it definitely did not look like Cooper to me. But okay, so he's got access to the FBI information. He's got access to the blueprints for the prison
where Ray's being held.
Where Ray is being held up, if he's being held, because Mr.
Right.
C seemed to call that out.
Yeah.
But
if he's being held, is not for that reason.
Right. So here's my question. So if Mr. C can access the FBI database from this magical briefcase, can he also access the contents of the dossier that was in the Secret History of Twin Peaks?
Oh, man. Well, we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen Agent TP. We haven't seen any federal officers yet, which is slightly interesting.
Were you thinking that Tracy could have been TP?
Oh no! If Tracy was Agent TP, she's in bad.
She's in trouble.
She's in bad trouble.
Yeah, she's in trouble.
So Cooper pulls out what can only be described as a scanning device of some kind, and he thinks he's talking to Philip. But it's not Philip. It's a man who says, I missed you in New York.
Right. Which I don't know what that... Do you know what that means?
I have no idea what that means, but it's very like, we know what's in New York, a brick building with a very, very destroyed glass box.
Yeah. But this is... Okay, so this is happen. I'm a little confused. Where are we in the time frame? Have our friends been... Our friends make it on the couch? But when we're watching Mr. C play with the briefcase and the police scanner, are they already dead?
Yes. Well, I mean, chronologically in the show, they're dead. Yeah.
Right. No, I understand. Okay. But but I'm just because we got a little bit of a loop jump with good old Dale. Then I was not quite clear on it.
That's true. Now, the man on this box who's not Jeffries, he knows where Cooper is. Hey, he says, hey, I see you're still in good old Buck.
Right. So, but this guy, if this guy has access to his location, I'm presuming he's
Buckhorn, yeah.
He's in Buckhorn. So he's figuring out Mr. C is in Buckhorn because that's where the briefcase is. So is this guy also in the FBI, or what are we talking about?
Mr. C says he's nowhere. This guy knows that Cooper met with Major Garland Briggs. So there's something, it's just very odd what's happening. Once again, trying to make sense of it at this date may be pointless. Maybe when it's all over, it may be pointless. But that man on the phone,
yeah,
he mentions good old Bob. And correct me if I'm wrong, is this Bob's only mention in the 2 hours?
Yeah. As far as I know, yeah. And okay, and he's saying that Mr. C met with Major Garland Briggs. So
he's right, exactly. And Mr. C's like, how'd you know that, Philip? But this voice is just calling to say goodbye. Mr. C is freaking out. He thinks, wait a minute, I'm talking to Philip Jeffries, right? But the person says, you're going back in tomorrow. I'll be with Bob. Theoretically means you're going back in the Black Lodge tomorrow. Right. I'll be with Bob. Who could this person be?
Who could this person be that needs Mr. C to go back in the lodge in order for him to be with Bob again?
Is it possible that Mr. C is talking to his other half, the good Cooper?
Yeah. I mean, do they get good reception in the Black Lodge for, I mean, is there Wi-Fi to log into your wacky box?
Well, that's the arm. That's what the arm is doing.
Yeah, that could boost a signal. Yeah. I did notice, if you look closely, that the ARM electric tree, it on the bottom it said T-Mobile. So I think it's just a boosting device for Coop's evil tape recorder. No, I didn't understand this, but I was totally giving this guy a pass and what he's doing, and just bringing up Philip Jeffries. I love that they did it. It may not make any sense at all because in Firewalk with Me, we see Philip Jeffries once.
Right.
And if you watch The Missing Pieces, the extended 90-minute scenes, you see him a total of 2 times. So, and he's in Brazil or Argentina or something like that. So, okay, so we're slowing it down, and it says KDHG?
Yes, if you want to know his secret login, it's...
Well, the agent ID.
Right, the Cajun... Oh, we don't know his password, sorry.
Well, no, the password is 123456, but still.
Sure, the password isn't password.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
And so he's going to have to leave Buckhorn, and he's going to have to go to this prison, and he's going to have to theoretically break in and get Ray. Mr. C...
Well, get him or just kill him?
Yanked in federal prison. Well, he needs information. He keeps saying he needs information that Ray has. Oh boy, this is incredibly confusing. But guess what? He's got a lady on the side in room 7,
played by the amazing
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
How cool to see her. And hopefully we're gonna get to see a lot of her. I don't mean in terms of wardrobe. I just mean throughout the series. That she's a big part of the show. How cool would that be?
We should point out that even though our newbie catfish has left, he really giggled. I don't know if it was from just obnoxiousness or what, but when Mr. C mentioned that she was wet.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is Hutch. Okay, so
that's her husband,
right? So is Richard and Linda another couple that Mr. C is working with to wreak havoc, all over the place? Who knows? It's my working theory so far.
So Jennifer Jason Leigh is known as Chantal, and theoretically her husband is Hutch. Mm-hmm. And if I had to guess, we haven't seen parts 3 and 4 yet. there's going to be a jailbreak, or at least a jail penetration and murder.
There might be a jailbreak. All I can say is Mr. C and Chantal and Hutch, they're probably all real close family friends for what is about to go down. So, okay, so then we cut. Where do we go?
Well, let's just finish off. Are you thrilled to see what's going to happen with Mr. C? Because Mr. C seems like our protagonist the rest of the way. You good with that?
For now, yeah, I'm good, and I am definitely excited about the possibilities. He's reminiscent. I mean, he's, as I was saying earlier, he's evil Cooper, and unfortunately, so this is something that it fits because Cooper is this guy. He's a real upstanding, real earnest guy, even compared to other people in the FBI, like our good friend Albert. He is enormously forthright. He is a Boy Scout, and he's got some weird stuff in his past for sure. But when he shows up in Twin Peaks, man, it is just a perfect fit. And so we have evil Cooper, who is getting as far away from Twin Peaks. It seems like that's what he's been doing for these past 25 years. He's like, these people are too good. I am getting the hell out of Dodge, and I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm going to New York City, and I'm going to Buckhorn, South Dakota, where nosy neighbors are. So this for me was sort of the worst the worst example of languid lynch.
Oh yes, and did you find it funny? I know humor is different for each person, but Marjorie here, the woman with the dog, the next door neighbor who gets this all started, she forgets her own address. Ha ha ha. She forgets that she has a key into Ruth Davenport's apartment, and it just seems like, I apologize, I'm like, get on with it.
Yeah. No.
And because I wasn't laughing, maybe if I'd found this performance or this thing funnier, I might have been down with it. But oh boy, I was like, can we just go? Why is this taking so long?
Yeah, there was a lot of, and I think, and part of it for me is, even though, this is part of a lot of my fear and anxiety about this episode was seeing a character is okay. So Mr. C, yes, we definitely know him. We know him a little bit, but I definitely liked him, and anything that he's doing, I'm going to pay attention to. But when we see a random lady walking down a hallway with a little chihuahua, and then a couple of not quite Keystone cops, but they're
not interesting cops,
but not particularly interesting, nowhere near as interesting. I'd rather watch Chet Desmond and Sam Stanley than these two bozos. Okay, and so I don't want this to be the show. That's and we're in the first couple episodes, so I'm going to be a little worried about it. But that's what I'm hoping we can get a little bit of it. But all of this little stuff, I want to see that with people I already know, I already care about, and who happen to live in a little town called Twin Peaks. I don't need to see, any of these little vignettes outside of the city, because, we're most likely never going to see any of these three characters again. So, and ultimately, we get there, but for now, yeah, this was killing me. Even though I gave it 10 out of 10, this was definitely killing me.
So, once again, we got Marjorie, the next door neighbor with her dog, who is trying to get the cops in because she smelled this thing. She must have smelled death.
Yeah.
And we have this whole rigmarole. Will we come back to this side character who they're trying to get the key from, this guy outside?
It certainly
the brother,
seems...
Barney. Okay, so the normal guy who has the keys is a guy named Barney. He's in the hospital. But his brother is somehow there, Hank. Or no,
this is a friend of Hank's.
This is a friend of Barney's friend, Hank Fillmore.
Right.
And we follow him for a bit, and to me, the performance wasn't great, and to me, the quote-unquote mystery of what's going on with Hank Fillmore, it didn't seem very mysterious. I was like, get on with it.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly mysterious. Now, if there's a connection to the body in that bed, then okay. But at the same time, I think we have a pretty clear sense of, okay, somehow Mr. C is responsible for this. He's involved. This is what he's been doing. He's got his own reasons. Mr. C is not going to be tried for murder in Buckhorn, South Dakota. So it's almost like this is not how Mr. C is gonna get his comeuppance. So I don't think we need to spend too much time.
We're just throwing all these names. We're even thrown yet another name of Harvey and another name of Chip.
Right.
And this is just, I'm like the cops. Like, get on with this. We know there's going to be something disturbing, or could tell there's going to be something disturbing in this room. But it's kind of like, get on with it.
Yeah.
Of course, finally, Marjorie remembers, oh, guess what? I was supposed to water her plants when she's out of town. So guess what? I actually have a key. So this whole rigmarole They come in. This is very slow and deliberate. We know something hideous is going to happen. They remove, and theoretically, this is Ruth Davenport's head. Mm-hmm. With an eye just kind of blown out, gouged out?
Well, it looked like, because we saw it earlier, or we see it later, when Mr. C shoots the principal's wife in the back of the head, and it went out her eye, which is, I don't think this would have played on ABC. I'm not sure. One thing that I just have to say that I really didn't like about this scene was that these two cops, they enter, and then they don't really go anywhere. Supposedly they can smell death, and I don't know if you've ever had to deal with this, but I've actually had to deal with this. And let me tell you something: where that smell's coming from, and it's not pretty, it's not fun. These guys are cops, and they're just kind of hanging out, and it just made it seem even more languid and even more slow and even more cutesy, and it didn't work for me.
Finally, the detective Dave shows up. This detective,
who's got a history apparently of keeping his. Jane Addams is very excited to see him with his clothes on, apparently.
Well, I was going to say this detective also played a police detective in Mulholland Drive. He was Robert Forster's partner in Mulholland Drive. He's been in a million things. He had a bit part in the Stephen King adaptation, The Green Mile. He comes in, and he's set up on this obviously disturbing scene of, we got a head of one person, and we've got...
Well, we discover that it's a body of a large man.
Right.
It's rough. It is rough. People do not necessarily die peacefully in Buckhorn, South Dakota.
So one thing happens, and it seems slightly, when I'm talking about language lynch, and so we go into the Buckhorn police station, and they've got some prints, and they're scanning them in the computer. And admittedly, it only takes maybe a minute or two for them to get a match. But on a typical show, you would just cut to the woman saying, "Hey, Dave, I found whose fingerprints these are."
Right.
But instead, we have to watch the computer do these things and find out the match. And later on, I guess we'll get to it when we get to it. But later on, you're just like, oh, come on, just get on with it. Like, we literally have to see her open the program.
Right. We're seeing her open it, and it's also like the window and the graphics and the interface. It does look like it might be from the original series. And granted, Buckhorn, South Dakota, they may not always have the latest technology, but God bless. We're watching her enjoy. She's enjoying her coffee, and
hey, Dave, get in here. It's Bill, the school principal, Bill.
Oh man!
So the Buckhorn police, they go to Bill's house. Bill's wife is there, and this actress, I don't know who she is, but she is very mannered. She is very... Well, this
felt a little bit like, hey, are we in Invitation to Love?
Good call.
Is that's what's going on here? I don't know, but I'm just, this didn't feel very true at this point. I mean, we've all seen a million cop shows. I just got to put you under arrest. I got to take you downtown. Like, no Miranda, no talk to a lawyer, no. Nothing.
Once again, it feels like they're trying to have some humor, because it's like, you can't get arrested now. We have people coming over for dinner.
Yeah.
But it didn't work for me. That said, this little short story we're given about Bill being arrested for murder, I actually kind of enjoy parts of it. I like Bill when he's cross-examined.
Sure.
Bill...
Or just interrogated.
Sorry. Yeah. Cross-examined. Yeah, when he's interrogated. Bill, his whole story reminds me, once again, if he did it, his story reminds me of Leland Palmer's. Hey, what are you talking about? I didn't do it. I don't remember anything. I didn't do it. Cop Dave realizes he has at least a 30-minute hole in his schedule of when he said he left this one place and before he got home. And Dave's like, well, how long does it normally take you to get home? And then he mentions, I had a dream.
Right. He had a dream. So, okay. So, I not to go completely off course again for the 15th time tonight, but could Bill be the guy on the other end of the computer that Mr. C is talking to? Because he was there. So, obviously Mr. C was there or nearby because of how the person was shot, because how Ruth Davenport was shot. Obviously, this guy was there because of his fingerprints.
Right.
Unless, he also has a doppelganger. But then it's kind of like, how many doppelgangers are getting out? Like, for God's sakes, can we keep an eye on the goddamn doppelgangers? So he was there. Are they in cahoots? Does he want to get back with Bob? Maybe. I mean, I who knows? I have no idea. But this is the fun part of the series where we can kind of make anything up, and it's still possible.
All right.
We haven't been proven wrong yet.
No, we haven't.
Let's relish this.
So here's another example of what I call languid lynch. And once again, this scene, it's not like it takes long. But the people watching on the other way of the two-way mirror, they're like, hey, take Mr. Hastings to his new room. Okay, take Matthew Lillard, take Bill to his jail cell.
Yeah.
And we could just cut. Okay, we cut. He's in the jail cell. But no, we actually have a scene of Dave walking Bill down this hallway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Into the cell. And
we're watching other people watch them walk down the hallway. It's like, come on.
And so, yes, please. There are moments that I love in this, and I actually, like I said, this feels like a little short story in the middle of everything.
Right.
But I'm like, we have to watch them walk all the way down the hall?
Yeah, it's a long haul, and, that detective does not look like he gets a lot of cardio. Can you imagine when they're shooting this thing, how many times he had to walk up and down that hall? It must have been hell on that poor guy, for God's sakes.
So the cops go back to Bill's house. The wife is still upset. She still has these people coming over, possibly. They check in Bill's car, and underneath a thermos, which I thought, well, maybe there's a head in that.
There's a head in there.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, it's underneath that. There's a piece of skin.
There's a piece of skin, and it kind of looked like our friend on the tree. And I don't know about you, but if I was hosting and all of a sudden 25% of my guests I didn't have to worry about, that would kind of be a relief for me. That's less food. It's less dishes you have to wash. It's less table settings. You can you can get a little more creative with the seating arrangements. I thought that the wife would be a little bit more relieved about all this, but I don't do as much entertaining as she does.
So I like the interrogation scene a lot of this short story of Bill and his wife. I like this reveal when both Bill and the wife just turned evil and they were letting their true anger and their hatred of each other blow out in the cell. I thought this was strong. I thought this was powerful.
Yeah.
And so it isn't what I would call Twin Peaks. I wanted, I said way back when, I want to see Twin Peaks. It's the thing that got renewed. It's the Twin Peaks fans that got it renewed. It's
exactly.
not the Lost Highway. It's not the Inland Empire that got Showtime greenlit. It's Twin Peaks. That's what I want to see. And so even though I like moments of it, I'm not sure how much of this little short story within it I truly love.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, any soap opera beats between people who aren't in Eastern and or Western Washington, I don't care about. But there is something interesting going on a couple cells down the aisle. What do you think that was? Was that a coal miner who?
This is not a coal miner.
Sent to the Hooskow? Who could that be? Is it a prospector?
It's perhaps like I don't know. It's a real freaky person in all black who's like maybe the dark thoughts within Bill are trapped, and yet it vanishes and then floats away.
Well, just the head seems to float away, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Look. I'm gonna file that under. Don't really know what that was. I enjoyed looking at it, and that's all that counts. Like I will absolutely take it. I have no problem with it.
Are we ever going to see Bill again? Are we ever going to see that black demon a couple cells down?
I don't know, and it doesn't bother me either way. I mean, if this feels like so we follow Bill's wife home, and she's greeted by an out-of-town visitor.
So somebody did show up that night.
Yeah, what happened to the Morgans? Did Mr. C kill the Morgans too?
They definitely didn't want to come to dinner. Yeah. Mr. C has George, and I believe George is
the lawyer.
Is the lawyer, the one she's been having an affair with.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. C says you follow human nature perfectly. Her evil ways are kind of the evil that human beings do. And so Mr. C likes that, but he also has to wrap up loose ends.
Okay, so that's interesting, because I took that when he said that as almost like a compliment to another spirit who had taken over Like, we're performing, we're playing a role here. You're doing a great job. But sort of seeing this and looking back on it, what you're saying does make a bunch of sense. And he really, violence is not pretty. I just want to say that to our to everyone listening.
Mr. C loves headshots. He loves capping people in the head.
He definitely does. It's a perfect shot.
Real quickly, let's go ahead and do the Las Vegas scene, because if there was anything I would have cut out, this is it. We are introduced to yet more characters in Las Vegas. There's Roger the assistant.
Yeah.
Roger the assistant is coming in, and he's helping Mr. Todd. And Mr. Todd, it looks like, wants him to deliver lots of money to somebody. And
Mr. Todd was on Mad Men. He played that stand-up comedian, I believe.
And he died in Mulholland Drive. He played a character who died in Winky's Diner after seeing the creepy man out behind the diner.
Yeah, and he does not look too uncreepy himself. So he hands over, looks like $20,000 in pure cash to another kid.
To Roger. Good old Roger.
Good old Raj, who seems to be working his way through college, just like our friend on the East Coast. So this was definitely not a necessary scene, but what I liked about this scene is just the idea, as we talked about what was so great about the murder mystery aspect of the original series was, okay, first we start off with this girl, and so, okay, who can we suspect? It's, her boyfriend. She got in a fight with her evil coke-dealing boyfriend. Is it him? Oh, but there's these evil land developers. Is it those people? Is it the drug dealer who her evil boyfriend works for, who also beats his wife? Is it that guy? So you have this sort of this ever expanding sphere of ne'er-do-wells
and people being corrupted. That's right,
of corruption. And so this guy, I could see Mr. C hanging out in Vegas on more than one occasion. That shirt is definitely more Atlantic City though than Las Vegas.
Mr. C's, yeah. Now Roger doesn't. He's worried for Mr. Todd. He's like, oh, why do you have to do this? Why do you do this?
Right.
Mr. Todd's like, listen, buddy, you better hope you never have somebody like this person. We're implying it might be Mr. C, but he's like, you better hope you have nobody like this in your life, because it's nothing but trouble.
Yeah, it does seem as if it's someone else to me. I mean, we're seeing who Mr. C hangs out with, right? We're seeing Beulah, Otis, Jack. We're seeing who's hanging out in Beulah's whorehouse or whatever that place was called. And then we're in this beautiful, conference room or office, and somewhere in the bowels of the Bellagio. That felt like it might be someone else. Mr. C. Obviously, he's going to be super, super important. But in the pecking order things, Mr. C seems like a really, really skilled version of Leo Johnson. And, this guy is more like Ben Horn. Or maybe, Mr. C is sort of like Hank. He's like a really skilled version of Hank.
Okay, all right. You know what? Let's go back to Twin Peaks. That's what we want to see. Maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but the nostalgia I loved, and certainly one of the things you would love, Margaret, the log lady.
Yeah.
Made her cameo right before she died.
Yeah.
She calls into the sheriff's station. Lucy transfers it to now Deputy Chief Hawk.
Deputy Chief Hawk. We don't
We
don't know who he is the deputy to,
right.
But he is the deputy chief. There's no question. It's Hawk's brothers are not involved at all. Doesn't matter if anyone's fishing or in the hospital. Hawk is second in command.
Margaret says, my log has a message for you. The name of part 1. The log's message is something is missing, and you have to find it. It's about Agent Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Hawk, you have to find it. And this I love. Michael Horst, the actor who plays Deputy Hawk, now Deputy Chief Hawk, in season 3, I love him. I think he's great. This is when I get jazzed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, that something that is missing has something to do with Hawk's heritage.
Aha.
Which makes me think, once again, we keep mentioning the secret history of Twin Peaks, the Nez Perce. Something. The ring, maybe.
The ring. And also,
God, what if it's the ring?
What if it's the ring? And also, let's not forget from the original series, the arm, when the arm would introduce himself, and what the arm does, the electric arm tree, sponsored by T-Mobile, introduces himself. He says, and I make a sound like this. In the original series, remember, it was our little guy. Exactly, which is, probably not exactly what the Nez Perce war cry sounded like, but, it definitely is yet another connection that's really fun to see.
Deputy Hawk pulls up the old case files.
They look like they're all sealed. And so this is actually something that I think they handled really well. We're seeing all these people, and the first time we see, Dr. Jacoby or Ben Horn, the first thing that comes out of their lips is, "Hey, is Special Agent Dale Cooper still missing?" "Yep, he's still missing. It's been 25 years." They don't even mention it. We're about halfway through where he even comes up in the quote unquote real world, and it doesn't need to be said that he's missing. They've just accepted life has moved on, and okay, well they're going to crack it open, see what they can do. But that's going to be seeing how the townspeople have reacted to him having gone missing after he was such a big part of their lives for so long. I think could be really interesting.
But these are the people who care about Agent Cooper.
Yes.
Hawk, Lucy, Andy, their son. They haven't seen Agent Cooper since before their son was born.
Right.
Wally, Agent Cooper hasn't seen their son Wally.
He's never seen Wally. Do you think Andy's wearing 2 or 3 bulletproof vests?
He does. That doesn't look like a real human's belly that's going on with Andy, does it?
Well, that was where Waldo, Leo's bird, got shot. So Andy's always been very careful in that room.
Right. So what happened to all those donuts? Apparently Deputy Andy ate them and got a nice big belly.
Well, yeah, but only for self-defense. So if he gets shot in the belly, it'll be slowed down by that blubber.
But isn't this great? This is what gets me jazzed. Everybody says, "Oh, this isn't a nostalgia trip. This isn't a nostalgia trip." I'm just being completely honest. It's the Twin Peaks characters involved with stuff now that they have a mission. I mentioned how Dr. Jacoby, the Horns, they didn't have a story. Now they've got a story. Hawk is on the case of finding that missing thing to help Agent Cooper, to, we assume, help Agent Cooper. This is what I'm excited about. This is where I'm like, heck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, it ties perfectly back into number 1, the show, but also, let's be honest, the book in terms of the entire history. And I like the fact, and they always had it in the original series, but it is nice to see it. Again, touched on in the book, the relationship between Hawk and the log lady, as well as Major Briggs, and so all of this stuff it's nice to see these folks having some scenes together, because typically if they were talking to each other, there was 10 other people in the room. So it's nice to see, even though they're not in the same room, they're on the phone, but it's nice to see them just dealing with each other.
And so Deputy Hawk, where does he go? Now that he's looked through the case files, where does he go?
He goes to remind the people who made Blair Witch Project how to shoot scary things in the woods.
He's going out to Glastonbury Grove. This is it. Yeah. I don't care if it's a nostalgia trip. Give it to me. Heck yeah. Now, he has great cell phone service out in the Ghostwood National Forest. Yeah. Because the log lady calls him again, and he's able to get it on his cell phone. That's incredible.
That is no problem at all. Now, it's Bubba, you have an eagle eye. Does the log seem bigger than it used to be?
Hey, no, no.
Not Hawk. Get out.
The log.
The log. No, it does seem bigger than it used to be.
To me, it doesn't. But why do you say that?
It just doesn't seem like the same log. That's all.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't believe it. Now, this is where we get part 2's name in it. We get the stars. No, let me get this perfectly, because I want to get it straight. Her next message, she's kind of giving messages like the stars turn. The stars turn, and the time presents itself. She's giving messages like the giant and the little man used to give messages, it feels like.
Right. And it's very cool, obviously. Well, let's get into that later. So he's following, she's guiding him, and he is number 1 a great tracker, but he's also very open, similar to the kind of investigator that Agent Cooper is and or was. He is following his intuition as well as facts as he makes his way through these evil, scary, spooky woods.
Margaret tells him to watch carefully. I almost think that's a message from Lynch himself, telling all the viewers, watch carefully for all the stuff I'm doing. Uh-huh. She invites Hawk over later for pie. Oh, this
coffee and cherry pie. Yeah,
everything we want. He's going out, and I think since I visited the place where they filmed the series, filmed Glastonbury Grove earlier today, it doesn't look like this at all. I think this is a new location, but he's there with the sycamore trees. He's obviously going to Glastonbury Grove.
He's going, and what does he find? He finds the pool of burnt motor oil. It's too bad that that's still there, though. 25 years later, all that motor oil hasn't been cleaned up.
environmental disaster.
Yeah, what is going on? What's going on with the EPA? For
Now,
God's sakes.
when when Hawk is looking at the sycamore trees, when he's looking at them, are we to take what we see, what he sees? Does he see these red curtains?
I think he totally does. And when we're in there later with Cooper, I thought that scratching was Hawk, maybe trying to get in or something.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Let's just finish off the Twin Peaks part, and then let's end up in the Black Lodge, the Red Room, for the final bit of discussion.
Let's do it.
And so the next time we're in Twin Peaks is for an extended stay. Mm-hmm. And it's right at the end of part 2. And this might be my favorite part of the entire 2 parts. And that is,
First, actually, I mean, it's like, for God's sake, Sarah Palmer, move. Sell that damn house. I mean, can you imagine? This is one of the scariest things I've seen in this episode.
That Sarah is watching a water buffalo get eaten and mauled by, I assume, lions?
Yeah, get eaten. She's got a giant TV. She's got a bunch of bottles of Bloody Mary or margarita mix.
Oh, it looks like Bloody Mary. Isn't that Bloody Mary? Right there?
She's got a pile of cigarettes.
Oh, man.
She, this poor woman, I mean, she's still in the exact same place, obviously physically.
Probably emotionally as well.
But emotionally as well. And she's watching this, and you don't know who is she identifying with here? Is she identifying with the lions or with the water buffalo? Because, man, she has been thrown through the ringer. I love seeing her.
I do too.
I feel awful, but I love seeing her, and I hope we get to see her do some fun, interesting stuff that maybe where she won't be put through as much sheer hell as she was in the first couple.
This entire scene, I just kept staring at the mirrors. Remember. Yeah. That it's the image of Bob above her in a mirror that helped set up Killer Bob. Oh, right. Love it so much.
Yeah, so then we go out for a night on the town. Where do we go?
The Roadhouse, baby.
The Roadhouse, yes.
And this was my favorite thing in the whole episode. The whole 2 parts. We're back.
Not Julie Cruz's favorite part.
No, but this is a great band. This is a great song. We see Shelley's there. She's got a bunch of new friends. And we see James bringing in somebody young. Is this supposed to be James's friend? Is this supposed to be James's son? We don't know.
Evelyn Walsh's son.
Evelyn Marsh's son.
Evelyn Marsh's son. So James, good kid James, comes in. He's
Describe how he's looking. You like how James looks?
I mean, he sure as hell looks better than I'm going to look in 25 years. But, she says that he's been in a motorcycle accident, which may have explained season 1 and season 2. I don't know. But it also seems like James has sold his giant guitar to somebody in the band.
Well, apparently one of Shelley's new friends has thinks James has a crush on her.
Yeah, and that there's something wrong with that guy. And Shelley,
James doesn't talk much anymore.
Right, and Shelley comes to his defense. And I would be totally fine seeing those two get together. That'd be great.
The James and this new person, or what do you
Shelley.
You think James and Shelley? Shelley has a daughter named Becky that she mentions here.
Yeah, that's all right. James would be a good father. James has this. He's teaching this other kid how to go out and drink at an early age. It is a wide swath of age groups in this bar, which is good to see. Everyone does look like they're of today, but it still does feel like Twin Peaks, which was nice. They did this well.
Now, did you freak out that Shelley, while Shelley's talking about James being cool, Shelley has some contact with actor Balthazar Getty, who was in Lynch's Lost Highway film.
Right.
He's at the bar, and look who's behind him. The actor who played Jacques Renault.
Yes.
He's there, in a beard.
With the beard, yeah. He's hiding from the Grim Reaper, number 1. And
is this a 4th Renault brother? We had Bernard, we had Jacques, and we had Jean Renault.
It's Tippy.
It's
Tippy Renault. Yeah, she seems to like Balthazar Getty flirting with her. Yeah, I mean this for me, I really enjoyed this as well because we're getting back grounded into the soap opera of it all.
Yeah,
but more importantly, a soap opera that we actually kind of care about and are interested in. And and the fact is, what we're about to see is everything that we're going to see for it to really work and for it to really have stakes. What we're seeing right now, we're seeing Shelley. She looks pretty happy. We're seeing James. He seems pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
Sarah Palmer, not so much. But But
Andy and Lucy seem pretty good.
Andy and Lucy seem pretty good.
Jerry Horn's happy.
Ben and Jerry are pretty good. Dr. Kobe seems to his shovel collection is growing every week, but that really needs to be turned upside down over the next 18 hours for us to really be involved. So we're getting to see everyone at a nice even place. Everyone's comfortable. Everyone's safe. The tone of that room is definitely on the sad side. But I really enjoyed being back in there.
I loved it. I loved being in there. The Roadhouse, that was my favorite scene. That helps boost it up to a 7 out of 10 for me. Really enjoyed it. The last bit we have to cover, and I don't know how much 2 reviewers can cover because it's all dream world. It's all edge of your seat. Who knows what's going on? We have one of the longest stays in the Black Lodge we've ever, and I mean ever, had. We are with Cooper. We saw him at the beginning. Mm-hmm. In a flashback, we saw him at the beginning with the giant, even though in the credits it's listed as question mark. And then we get back in what feels like the start of part 2. We end up in a crazy extended sequence in the Red Room. Let's just talk about overall impressions. Did you like it? Was it too much? Was it not enough? Was it too crazy? Was it just the right amount of crazy? What were your thoughts about all these Red Room sequences, Mork?
Well, it's tricky when you have a place like this because, it's really impossible to know what the rules are. So we never really knew what the rules are, but we sort of felt like we did in terms of how the place was defined. The floor didn't fall out from under it. The curtains didn't disappear and go wavy. So that stuff is beginning, to happen here. And that, I'm okay with it. It didn't really bother me, but it was a little unfamiliar. But I got to say, I was really pumped to see good Coop. And one of the reasons I believe that he's good Coop is because he's speaking like a normal person.
Right, he's not in reverse talk of the Red Room,
and he looks good. He looks good. He probably aging probably did not suit him as well as it did suit Mr. C. But because youth and chipperness was such a big part of of Agent Cooper's persona in the old days.
Now, behind the scenes story are that Michael J. Anderson, who played the man from another place, the little man from another place, he has had some problems, and so he wasn't going to be in this series at all. So it feels like
health problems, or
he has problems with Lynch.
Okay.
So he doesn't want to be in this at all. It seems like a lot of his parts have now been handed over to the actor Al Strobel, who plays
Mike.
Philip Gerard, aka Mike, in the Red Room. And once again, this does feel like a nostalgia trip, but I enjoy it. Here's 25 years later, Laura Palmer showing up. Mm-hmm. After some debate, she says she is Laura Palmer. Right. She goes and she reenacts the scene she had with Cooper before, where she leans in, she kisses him and whispers in his ear something we can't make out.
And in the original, she did that when she was going to tell him who killed her.
Right.
And now we see her paying homage to Pulp Fiction and Face Off simultaneously by taking off her face, and we see a very bright light.
Is her face filled with stars? Catfish was talking about 2001.
Right. I don't know. This is another thing where, okay, I'm not sure if this is Laura. Laura's dead, but also, there is one of the big question I had that we didn't really get into, and oh man, Sheryl Lee can still
scream with the best of them. Yeah,
with the best of them. She's Sheryl Lee. Let's give a shout out. She's great. The flying away witch thing, that I didn't really love. That didn't feel like it was in the Black Lodge. Things happen. they made some upgrades apparently, but yeah, she was terrific in this.
Well, yeah, she flies away like a witch after she has a little spaz out, and then good old Philip Gerard, he takes us to meet what they call the Arm.
Yeah.
The Arm evolved. So theoretically, this is what the little man has turned into, what we like to call the electric tree. What do you think about the old electric tree, the evolution of the Arm?
Well, I worked in an apple orchard for a couple of years, and if you saw one of these guys, you went a-running. It was never good news, but he seems pretty friendly. The face is it's a little Voldemort going on, serpentine.
Is this the type of face we saw in the glass box?
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, that is kind of the face, although that face also had a body.
Good point.
So maybe that's what happened. Maybe those people got they were attacked by tree branches, and that's why they died. But no, so there is a lot going on. There's some warnings. There's some mystical talk.
Well, it seems to tell Coop once again that you want to know when you can get out. You can get out when Doppelganger gets back in. How is good Coop? How in the hell is he going to be able to? How in the hell is he going to be able to get this bad guy in if this bad guy doesn't want to come into the lodge? You know, they've got to switch places.
Well, even that though, like when you first see it, we don't know that Mr. C is planning on going back to the Black Lodge at all.
Right.
So true. He looks like he's having such a good time. Where well, Coop is SOL because he's stuck in the Black Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
And who else? And he seems to be like he knows karate and he shoots people and he's got a cool car. No one's going to stop this guy except for Coop, and he's stuck. So how's he going to get him back? So we learn later that he's planning on coming back. So okay, so that's good, but. That he Mr. C is getting delayed a little bit.
Oh, I have to correct myself. The evolved arm, the evolution of the arm, he throws out some more numbers, but he also mentions Bob. So Bob's getting some shout-outs here.
Bob is getting some shout-outs, and
I wonder what Bob has evolved into. If the arm is evolved into this, what in the world is Bob evolved into? Maybe I don't want to know.
Yeah, this for me is something that I hope they clarify in terms of the pecking order. In terms of how what we're seeing today illuminates what we saw 25 years ago and in Fire Walk with Me. I really hope I get the sense that they're kind of starting from scratch in terms of what the purpose of all this was. In terms of we see Mike, but we don't see much talk of what Mike used to feed off of, what Bob used to feed off of, all the Garmin Bosia, all of that stuff. We were talking when Mr. C's in the diner. I asked you, hey, is that cream corn that he's?
I couldn't tell. I don't think it was.
It didn't look like it. It looked like if it was any kind of corn, it was fresh corn. Mr. C doesn't play, but
so Cooper. I think, once again, Cooper can't leave until Mr. C shows up. So that's why he goes up to that one part where he should be able to exit the curtains and it won't open for him. He gets that little almost static jolt.
Right. He gets a little static jolt and
he turns around, goes back. It's like, I always say, it's like you exit the Red Room and then you re-enter the Red Room at a different time and space. And he runs into our good friend Ray Wise, Leland Palmer.
Hell yeah. He's looking good. He's looking a hell of a lot better than Ben Horn. Maybe Ben Horn should have killed someone and he'd still look good.
And so we have another cryptic clue. We have a lot of cryptic clues. Leland says, find Laura.
Where is he talking about? Finding her in one of these other red rooms, finding her in a different part of in the Black Lodge, or where exactly?
Or I wonder, finding her out in space, in time and space.
So maybe Laura is what killed our lovers on the bench.
Oh no! Please no.
It could be. It might not be. We don't know. One of the things there's a couple things just in terms of what they're doing in the lodge that it's new and I didn't love it just because it was different. But one, they're playing a lot with sort of translucency with things. The other thing is they seem to be when Coop is going towards a curtain, there seems to be a little forced perspective where it seems like he's getting smaller, and I don't really recall that at all. But this is fun. It's fun to do all this Kremlinology and try to figure out what the heck is happening.
Yeah, should we even be trying? Listeners, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast plural. Take us through what you thought. And of course, we've already kind of covered this part, but Cooper sees this statue. Sometimes the statue has arms, sometimes the statue is missing an arm. Hello. Cooper sees his doppelganger driving in South Dakota. Hello.
Did you think he was going to jump?
I thought he was. I thought this was going to be great. We're going to have a battle of Coopers.
Yeah. Like being John Malkovich or something. That's what I thought it was going to be. But instead, he gets attacked by the doppelganger tree.
And the
as much as I would like to describe that in a short declarative sentence, Bubba, I don't know if one can. I don't know if one can.
It's not going to happen. So that's it. That is our first taste of Twin Peaks parts 1 and 2. It definitely, Catfish is right. It feels like parts. It definitely does not feel like episodes. This feels like it just kind of stopped almost arbitrarily. It stopped at a part I loved, but it felt like it stopped very arbitrarily.
Yeah, but this is something that shouldn't really come as a surprise. I mean, it comes as a surprise to Catfish, but throughout, what Lynch was talking about, it's 18 hours, it's one big story. What the folks at Showtime were saying, all of that stuff was this feels accurate. I mean, this feels like what they were describing, and I got to be honest, I was into it. Wait, can you back up for a second? I thought I just saw Ashley Judd's name.
Yeah, she was Ben Horne's secretary, Beverly.
Oh, my God. I didn't recognize her at all. I'm going to slap my wrist.
Catfish, where are you? We need you.
We definitely need you.
Oh, boy. So... No,
Cornelia Guest played Phyllis Hastings.
Yeah. So, what are you talking about?
So, who did Ashley Judd play?
She played Ben Horne's secretary, Beverly. That's what I just said. I literally said that sentence a second ago.
Oh, I thought I said Beverly. Phyllis. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So,
it's been a long night.
It has been a long night. Real quickly, let's get to some feedback. We have Burke here on our Facebook page said, Benjamin Horne is the most complete, fully realized character of season 1 and 2. Ultimately, he's my favorite. For the longest time, the uncertainty of him coming back was killing me. We also got this from our good friend Matt LeBlanc. He says, this is my go-to listen when I go get groceries, clean up around the house, and guess what? Tonight, I need to get groceries and clean around the house. Thank you for turning trivial parental adult duties into a form of entertainment. Thank you so much.
That's amazing, Matt. Our goal is to inspire you to have more kids so you can listen to the podcast even more.
Excellent. Steve Arts89, who left that great feedback on Twitter, the great review, but he was talking about us focusing too much on revealing the killer back in the second season, killing the show commercially as opposed to artistically. Steve, hopefully this kind of gets to your thing, and we're going to end tonight on, before we give away the prizes, we're going to end tonight on a thing David Lynch has said recently, and he said for a long time. He says, and I want to know, listeners, do you agree with this or do you agree with me? So once again, Bubba's going to do his classic thing. I am going to disagree with David Lynch. David Lynch's quote is, people want to know right up until the time they know, and then they don't care anymore. And I just could not disagree more. He's saying this once again about revealing the killer. Like, once you reveal the killer, you don't care anymore. Right now, people in the Star Wars fan community, they want to know who's Rey's parents are. This character Rey in the Star Wars films now, we don't know who her parents are. People want to know. If you believe Lynch, once we know who Rey's parents are, we're not going to care anymore. We're not going to care anymore about Rey or Star Wars. You think Star Wars fans aren't going to care anymore? I completely disagree. I would go back to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho ends on an infamous, let me explain Norman Bates to the audience, where this psychologist just says, Norman had this, da-da-da-da-da-da. Many critics hate that end scene about them, quote-unquote, explaining this is what's up with Norman. But people still care about Psycho.
Sure.
And so when David Lynch says people want to know right up until the time they know, and then they don't care anymore, I completely disagree. I think people want to know, and then if they love it, they'll continue to care. So that's what I say to Lynch. That's what I say to anybody who says, well, artistically, that's why Lynch didn't want to reveal, and that killed the show. Just because they revealed the killer, and we mentioned this on that specific episode, just because they revealed the killer, that didn't mean the show had to suddenly turn bad. It was Frost, and I think Frost has admitted this in the past, and I think it's brave of him saying, we wanted to slow roll the Wyndham Earl Black Lodge storyline. And I think that was a mistake. If number one, that storyline had been stronger, but also number two, if it had kicked in kind of the moment of Leland's death, people wouldn't have those complaints about season 2. So that's my feedback, but keep giving it to me. If you disagree, we want to hear from you. Steve Arts 89, love the feedback. Once again,
fire away. Yeah, no, that's great. We appreciate that.
So now let's give away these prizes. We are so excited that Twin Peaks is back. We've decided to give away 3 more prizes. Once again, you have a choice of a Funko Twin Peaks toy, coasters, artwork that is as postcards. Those postcards are really awesome. Mork, what's the first name you got?
Here we go. Oh, hell yeah. Carl Withersman from the US of A.
Carl Withersman. Hey. Congratulate. Go to our Facebook page, give us your address, and we will mail you a prize.
Chapow.
The number 2 winner is A3 Baxty. Is that how you say it? A3Baxte. A3 Baxty. Yeah. In the USA iTunes Store. Congratulations. Go to our Facebook page. You are a winner. And our final winner for this week's podcast is...
Drum roll is... Dooley's left leg from the UK.
Oh, we love Dooley's left leg. Great double L.
Double L.
Loyal listener.
Oh, yeah.
Keep giving us those iTunes reviews. At the end of this 18-part experiment, we're going to give away the rest, all of our prizes. You put your name in, give us a written iTunes review, like our Facebook page, and you'll be eligible to win.
It's an embarrassment of riches, and not just because it's associated with this podcast.
For everybody here at the Double B Podcast Networks, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM, at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And go to Extraordinary, that's at Extraordinary, but with the W in front of the final R, if you want to chat with more.
Later on this week, we hope to get out our podcast about parts 3 and 4. And then next week, because it's Memorial Day here in the United States, next week we're going to have a feedback podcast where all we do is we listen to your feedback. You've had more time to think about these episodes than we have. So get it in, go to our Facebook page, let us know. And until that time, you'll see us in the Gifted
And the Damned.
Black
Lodge. Sweeps. 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 Sweeps.